Wollen wir in das Video noch rein? Und dann sind wir durch. Ja, okay, lass das noch gucken. Weil von ProGates die Videos... Ist das laut genug?
Guck mal da. Hat er noch nicht diesen mächtigen Bart gehabt?
Ja, das kommt gleich,
Ah, okay.
Also glaube ich zumindest. Das ist einfach nur Throwback zu dem alten Video.
I mean, you can feel his dedication all the time, man. And it's just part of why we really just love seeing him get those amazing limbs.
Sei mir ehrlich, wie oft hast du dich selber beim Schenken Classic gehittet?
No joke.
Ultra oft.
Ich konnte ihn richtig gut.
Ja, aber ich habe mich ultra oft gehittet.
Ja, ich nicht.
You know, every time he pops off, it's because of all of those hours that he put in the game. Not only, you know, to get where he is, but...
Da hat Tyson gesubbt. Das habe ich gesehen.
Wichtiges Detail.
It's because of all of those hours that he put in the game. Not only,
vernünftig
you know, to get
die
where he
Reaktion
is,
gemacht.
but to stay there as well.
Warte mal, ich will mal ganz kurz was gucken.
Let's go! Let's go! That's a big kill win, baby!
Bunch of Crush Army, where you at? I'm so pumped up. Your motivation guy. That's right. I am back. Your friend, the one and only Keith Allen. And this is the story of Mongraal 2.
Sieht so nice gemacht
All right,
aus,
so
oder?
last time that we left off,
Ja, das ist
Mongraal
auch
had
immer
just
richtig gut.
announced that he was, you know, going to be teaming up with Benji Fish for all future duel competitions. It made sense then
2019
because
einfach.
they were both coming off an insane streak with some of the best they've ever played. They'd previously been squad mates together in the Chapter 2 Season 1 FNCS, but the first time they got a chance to really debut as a duo was in December at the 2019 Winter Royale. 2019 was a special year, though, because, you know, it was the only time Epic decided that there were going to be no qualifiers for the Winter Royale. It was just whoever had the most points at the end of the day would get a nice, clean payout. And so on the first day they competed, they got 266 plays. That's still $600 between
266 Zahl und du hast immer noch $300 bekommen each. Digga.
them, but that was
Und jetzt bekommst du für Top 50 200.
Ey, Platz 1 im Cash Cup bekommt 800.
a massive underperformance for two of the best players in the world. And since both of them were unsatisfied with how they did, both him and Benji Fish as UK players decided to also enter into the North American East version of the Winter Royale. They were playing on 150 ping each, with half of their bullets getting eaten entirely by this server. But this time, they came
Sorry,
in
ich muss kurz was
24th.
nachgucken.
What? That's right, guys. Somehow, they managed to win $2,200 playing on an entirely
Überleg mal, Winter Royale NA, 24. bringt dir mehr als Cash Cup EU. Oder?
Ich will, wenn man sich das alles so zurückdenkt und so
different
auf World Cup, wie
continent.
viel
I
Geld
know
da
what you're
drin
probably
steckt.
Ja,
thinking.
das
Like,
ist so
most
viel Geld
pros
drin
do
gewesen.
that for every tournament.
Boah,
That's
die
gotta
Aug
be
war so eine
impressive. All right,
Abfuckwaffe.
let me remind you this, guys. Like, we're talking about Mongraal here, and he did not change his playstyle for any of these games.
Laser, he's 1 HP here! Dead!
He got above 10 limbs in 4 of the games and was somehow
Sniper, ich
making
liebe
like
diese Waffe.
rushing at them even work, even though he should have always just been at a disadvantage doing it. So on day 2 of the
Let's
Winter
see.
Royale,
Let's see.
they get 7th place in Europe and 155th on NA East. And on the final day of the tournament, they get 12th overall in Europe and 35th in NA. And one of those games in
Das ist
Europe,
Cash.
like they got 34
Echt gute
kills in
Placements
the Victory
gewesen.
Royale.
Ja.
They took out
Ich hätte
more
ja so
than a
schlecht
third of the
gespielt
entire.
wegen dem FNCS, das danach kam.
Boah,
Als ob die
Die Tricks
den
hat
Winter Royale
geplaced?
gespielt haben. Ja klar, Reason damals.
Ah, stimmt. Aber überleg mal hier, Acer Noward ist da, Mongraal Benji. Wie wird ausgesprochen? Ne, weißt du? Mage ADN,
Oder wenn
Wolfie Sledgy, Ledwig Kiriace, kennt man ja alle.
Entire match, man. Mongraal and Benji Fish were in top form coming out of this
Eine
tournament,
Sache?
but they also
Was ist mit Ledwig passiert?
Der cheatet nicht mehr.
Ja, okay. Ich
Nee,
hab jetzt gesehen,
Ledwig war der
hat
Russe,
mit
oder?
Rias gespielt.
War
Ja,
Ledwig der Russe?
der spielt ja jetzt mit Rias momentan.
Ja.
Aber weißt du noch die Zeit, wo der mit Kiriace Duo gespielt hat? Bei Agency? Die waren immer in jedem Cup Top 5. Die
Ja,
beiden.
aber der Duo war
Kiriace
auch
und
unfair.
Ledwig.
Der Loot war auch
So,
Ja, aber trotzdem, zu der
both
Zeit
kept,
war der so
just
gut.
looking forward to play high-level matches again and again. And so they didn't really have to wait that long because in March, Epic laid out the conditions for the upcoming Season 2 FNCS. This time it was duels, but the Cash Cups would also heavily favor solos. In other words, it was kind of a perfect scenario for Mongraal. Like, he thrives in those, one-on-one fights, and this just meant there'd be more of them. So the warm-up made it clear that the two of them hadn't lost their edge. In the qualifiers, they got 7th place. In the semis, they got 11th. And overall, 21st. They announced that they were dropping at Sweaty Sands, and most teams in the final decided, to avoid that location entirely, so they didn't have to.
Aber das war früher immer so. Egal, wo Mongraal gelandet ist, es war in Finals ankommen, weil keiner auf ihn Bock hatte. Ich weiß noch,
Das
früher
ist generell
Retail.
Finals so, das ist doch heute auch noch meistens so.
Aber Retail, überleg mal. Früher mit den Zombies.
Das war so eine kranke
to
Zeit.
deal with them. And at the end of week 1 of the official FNCS tournament, they had got 2nd place overall. Their placements were quite good in each match. But what honestly pushed them to the top spots was just how consistent they were at getting kills. Like, that was amazing, but that would slowly slip over the next few weeks, and they'd get 15th in their heat group and miss out on a spot in the grand finals by 3 spaces. They did get unlucky though, like with bad loot and spawns and Mongraal's game crashing in at the same match. But there was another big problem that was actually caused not by Mongraal, but by Mongraal's reputation.
I'm getting kills.
Schenken, dead.
Chill.
Mongraal had become such a famous figure of Fortnite and an icon of the game. He was easily one of the most watched players both in
Oh mein Gott, dieser Clip. Kennst du ihn noch?
Ne.
and outside of the World Cup.
Oh, der wird nicht gezeigt.
And so
Schade.
to the point that, even people
Wo
who
er
don't play
unten im
Fortnite know
Lowground
who
die
he
3-4
is.
Kills
And
gemacht
with
hat,
the
dann
fan
hochgejumpt
base
hat,
of
der das Junge
literally
gewonnen
millions,
hat.
he had created an entirely new generation of players that wanted to be just like him, if not better. And so at the same time, man, like a lot of the best players from today didn't actually attend the World Cup. It was because they saw Mongraal achieve so much with his unique playstyle at such a young age that it inspired them as well.
Guck mal, da
it
seid ihr noch
proved
so
that,
süß aus.
with enough dedication and hard work,
Einfach
like,
wie
they
so
could
ein-
also have a serious career playing this game.
Weißt du, wie ich mein?
And they all wanted a piece of the pie. And so in just a
Ja,
few
ja.
months after the World
Jetzt
Cup,
sieht Mongraal
the
aus wie ein
competition had leveled up
3-jähriger
so
Familienvater.
much, and
Der hat
Mongraal's
einfach so viel Bart
philosophy
bekommen.
around competing changed.
Überleg mal,
Hast du seine Geheimratsecken gesehen?
ja, aber guck mal, zu seiner Zeit, da hatte ich Bart, als der so aussah. Und jetzt ist er einfach mehr Bartwuchs als ich.
Ja, du musst dir vorstellen, wie alt ist der jetzt gerade? 16?
16.
Ja, ja.
Der hat mich einfach eingeholt.
Ich hab mich
He
auch
was
schon lange
already
eingeholt.
playing for hours every day and practicing, but he now had another focus. He had to also keep improving. Because over the last 2 years, man, like the average level skill of like the Fortnite community has risen a whole lot. And so if you go back and check gameplay from even a year ago, like it's ridiculous how much faster and optimized the game's gotten since then. Players are a lot more consistent at everything now as well. And so when you're as famous as Mongraal is, people constantly tell you when you're underperforming, even when you don't want to hear it. So he started working even harder than before.
Leute sagen dir, dass du nicht mehr playst. Ist mir noch nie aufgefallen.
Ich merke auch schon immer, allein schon wenn du im Cash Cup erste Runde stirbst, 3 Leute schreiben rein, washed.
Ja, ja, ja.
Sag's, wie es ist.
Also mir wurde das auch noch nie gesagt, irgendwie wash oder du playst nicht mehr oder. Ich habe sowas noch nie gehört.
Because he didn't want to let any of his fans down. And all of those solo cash cups ended up being extremely helpful for Mongraal because Epic announced that they were hosting a rare invitational only for that season. And it was solos. Mongraal was working the hardest he ever had, and the format suited him. So what could possibly go wrong? Everything, apparently. The Invitational was set up to have 2 weeks of games, and the top players of that would just go into the grand finals. In his first week, he was actually playing quite consistently and was in 5th place at one point. But his game ended up getting an infinite loading glitch, and he couldn't play the last 3 games of week 1 at all. And he dropped all the way down to 102nd place. He could still make it to the grand finals if he really performed well in week 2, so of course his game crashed in the first match. But apart from that, like he was actually doing quite well and things were looking great. And then he got the loading glitch again. And this time it didn't lose him that many games, and he did have such a strong lead that he still got 20th place. And
Boah,
was
die
therefore
Scout, der
through
Grappler
to
war
the
OP.
finals. But you have to admit this, man, like it must have been so demotivating to just lose games outside your control while you're playing so good. And so Then in the grand finals, he ended up with 26th place, which is still an incredible achievement, but he had terrible luck with zone spawns and he wasn't really that happy with it either. He spent all this time working extremely hard, but then underperformed purely because of luck. But it's after this loss, it's what's important, really. Like, he understood that he didn't do anything wrong, and he kept working hard, and, that ended up actually paying off down the line in Season 4. But before then, Mongraal actually got his own opportunity to host a tournament in a partnership with Epic, the Mongraal Cup. It was just like Bugha's, but it was just a few weeks before it, on the 14th of July. And the setup was the same, with the entire stream taking place on Mongraal's own channel. With its own commentary and camera work, over 500,000 people entered to celebrate Mongraal's performance at the World Cup. And then a few days later, on the 19th of July, Mongraal actually competed in 2 big tournaments on the same day, DreamHack Europe and DreamHack NA East. He got 46 in Europe and wasn't satisfied. Afterward, he went on Twitter and he talked about how playing in solos leaves too much up to randomness, and squad modes actually allow players to show off more of their skill. And then he streamed DreamHack NA with Mitro coaching him and got 68. Unfortunately, the next FNCS was a solo tournament, so he'd have to wait just a little bit more for his chance at playing in the squad. In the first qualifier, he actually got 8th place, which meant, he was through to the heat stage. He still competed in the other qualifiers, but never really touched the top 10 spot again. But when it was time for the semifinals, Mongraal actually...
Aber Mongraal war immer in den Top 50 ungefähr, ne?
Mhm. Was ist das? Season 3?
grabbed second place.
Nee.
And at the end of the grand final...
Das war
noch diese...
Das war nach Winter Royal, oder nicht?
Ich habe keine Ahnung, was das
ist.
Ich weiß nicht, welchem Jahr wir gerade sind.
Especially since he had been playing so consistent leading up to it. But he knew that it was a bad performance and, he just looked forward to the future playing.
Da war unten, das war Scar-Meter und sowas, wo die OP-Scar drin war, der Grappler, unten die goldene Auge.
Trios Cash Cups had already been around for a few months, but Mongraal didn't really have a consistent group yet. He was playing with Mitro a lot again, but they needed someone else to really fill out their trio. And then they found their missing piece in Tayson. He was their in-game leader, man, meaning he was calling most of the plays, and he's incredibly talented as a player in his own right. He had literally just won the solo FNCS, but in practice, if you actually watch the 3 of them, they'd all really just do their own thing. But at the end of the day, what matters is how they perform, right? And they might have been the scariest trio in Fortnite history up to that point.
Nice.
So for the entire, FNCS season, they consistently placed in the top 25 in every single tournament they played in. Here's a quick rundown of how they performed, right? They got first in the warm-up for the Season 4 FNCS. They qualified in all 3 weeks it was possible, and then got 4th in the heat. And when it was time for...
Aber Stark war auch deren Season auch noch, ne? Oder nicht?
Stark haben die gewonnen.
Ja. Grand Finals, they came in first and split a prize of $111,000 between the 3 of them. Anyone who follows Mongraal on Twitter knows that he tweets motivational stuff all the time. Get up and grind, that sort of thing, right? But that attitude of constantly grinding is kind of, unhealthy sometimes. If you don't remember to really relax and really take some time off every once in a while, all that stress can really add up, and that's for any human being. And so, when you're playing at the level Mongraal is for tons of hours every day and streaming, it's probably even worse. So at the end of 2020, Mongraal took a break. He didn't play Fortnite for a few weeks, and he didn't really stream either. Now, understandably, Tayson, had his own career to build as a player and, wanted to be a part of a team that was going to constantly grind like he was already doing. So he decided to leave him. Unfortunately, this ended up, causing a massive rip between them. And, it's actually likely that we'll never see Mongraal and Mitro team up with Tayson again because of just how badly the breakup was. Which is a shame since they were...
Ja, aber wenn Mongraal doch eh kein Fortnite spielt, wieso soll Tayson sich denn nicht splitten, wenn er einer der besten Spieler ist, so weißt du, wie man?
Ja,
Tayson ist halt der Spieler, der das Potenzial hat, jedes FNCS zu gewinnen, weil er ist halt jedes FNCS in den Top 3. Weißt du?
Ja, man kann es absolut verstehen, aber die stellen das gerade ein bisschen komisch da irgendwie.
Ja, die stellen das gerade irgendwie so dar, als wenn, ich weiß nicht, was da passiert ist so, aber...
We're so good together. Both him and Mitro would stick together for the next trio FNCS, but most people they wanted to play with already had a group or didn't fit their style. They had gotten back into grinding Fortnite again, but because of the circumstances, they didn't end up qualifying through the Season 5 FNCS. And so that takes us today. Mongraal's currently playing with Micho and Milan in the Season 6 FNCS. And
Ich finde, Mongraal und Milan passen halt auch nicht so zusammen.
Wir haben kein IGL gefühlt.
Ja.
Also Milan macht das gleich.
honestly, anything can happen. His game's already crashed once already, and he hasn't qualified through yet. But Fortnite did add the Primal Shotgun, which is still pretty good even after all the nerfs. Either way, man, like, he's a world-class player and an inspiration to so many of us. But your crush on me, that's it for the video today. You know, feel free to really take a look at the rest of our content for strategies, you know, player stories, so much more. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to connect with me even more on my Instagram, connect with Your Motivation Guy. I'm right here at Your Motivation Guy. And man, keep grinding. Don't stop, don't give up, don't surrender. And I'll see you on the next one.
Das Einzige, was mich halt wirklich am Ende gestört hat, ist halt, dass die so. Ich weiß halt nicht, was da passiert ist, ne? Aber wenn Mongraal ja sagt, er macht eine Pause, wieso sollte Tyson sich nicht ein neues Trio suchen dürfen? So, wenn er 3 Wochen nicht spielt, dann kann ich es schon verstehen.
Das ist halt auch so ein Video, da kann man einfach echt nicht viel zu sagen, ne? Der hat einfach nur aufgezählt, was so passiert ist im letzten Jahr.